What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Between the Lines Sports Podcast. We are your host. I'm Blair. This is Patrick. This is our Tennessee podcast for the week. We'll be recapping the past couple games against Kentucky and UConn. Then we'll be looking ahead to this week against Missouri. All right, so 2 weeks ago against Kentucky, how'd you feel about it? I mean, obviously we got the W, but overall, what were your thoughts?
Felt good. I mean, the game, went how it typically goes up there, or how it's gone the last few times. I mean, a one possession game. Came down to the end. Definitely some positives developed during that game. I think this is, now, I mean, it's been a couple weeks now, but this was definitely the full game where Joe really started playing well. Accuracy was really on point, was hitting receivers across the middle in stride, scrambling and throwing the ball well. I think, as a lot of people have talked about, but it's definitely true. I mean, once they started using him more in like the design run game, I mean, I think it's really whatever that does to him. I mean, it gets him going because his accuracy's been really improved, and it's just making the offense click. So, I mean, that's been the big story because really the pass rush has struggled, especially in the Kentucky game. They got the one sack, but Leary had the career game, the game that we had been hearing that he would play like that all year, and kind of hadn't showed up. But in that game, he did show up, and Tennessee was still able to overcome it and find a way to win. So I think the biggest thing that developed out of that Kentucky game was just how well Joe played and was able to lead the offense. And then obviously Jalen Wright showing up the way that he has all year. I mean, he's got the scoring started with that long run and was able to get over 100 yards. In that game, it was his fifth game of the year. And then obviously this past week with his sixth. So in my opinion, best running back in the SEC. I mean, I know there's some good ones, but just what he's meant to the team and just how hard he runs. And I mean, the guy barely gets carries and he gets over 100 yards. So it's, I mean, the game overall itself, I mean, it was strong. It was great that the offense was able to get the ball back with 4 minutes left and Kentucky have all their timeouts and be able to run out the clock and not give it back to them. So a number of good things developed in that game. But I think the biggest is just the offense kind of finding its stride, especially after that first half of the Bama game where they looked so good and then kind of disappeared in the second half. The Kentucky game, really consistent overall. So that was the biggest thing I took from that game.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit it all on everything, really. But like you said, I think that was one of the more complete games we played all year. As far as we played good the first half and continued into the second half. We made the adjustments that were needed. But like you said about Joe being, probably one of his better games on the year, if not his best. But also, I think the wide receivers played really good. I can't recall of just like a straight up drop this past week, but when he put the ball out there for them, they made plays, and it mattered at the end as it was only a one-score game. But like you said, I mean, college football with 3 timeouts and 4 minutes left, it's pretty dang tough to run out the clock when the other team knows you're going to be running the ball. So that was good to see. It was a good bounce back game after that, kind of devastating loss to Bama after we jumped on them so quick and it looked like everything was going to fall in our laps and in our favor that week. But, second half got the better of us. But, yeah, it was good win, good road win especially. But, yeah, that's all I have on Kentucky.
The one other thing we didn't mention, or that I forgot was just, I think maybe the other big thing from that game was maybe Thornton getting going, Dante Thornton, because I mean, it kind of coincided with Joe, that one scramble play he made where he just kind of scrambled and told him to move to the middle of the field, and he hit him in stride with probably one of the toughest catches he's had to make all year. And Thornton's kind of dropped some easier ones, but he made that catch and then made like a 35-yard run after the catch and kind of sparked a drive there. So him coming along, because it seems they've moved him to the outside since Brew got hurt and he struggled in the slot, and maybe that's going to wake him up because he definitely, I mean, he played well in that game. He had a couple of nice catches against UConn. So with the receivers stepping up, if Joe's putting it where it's supposed to be, I mean, we've got some special receivers. So that was another good sign too.
Yeah. All right. Next game was against UConn. This was kind of a game going into. We knew we were going to win. I mean, obviously nothing's guaranteed, but the main thing was just kind of stay healthy and get some younger guys some valuable game reps. And we definitely saw that with Nico. We finally got to see him in some good action through his first touchdown pass. So that was good to see. But I mean, I know it was UConn, obviously, but there's a lot of encouraging things that we saw from them, and from the starters too. They handled business out the gate. They jumped on them big time, and we never looked back. And that's how games like that should go every time.
Yeah, I mean, a few things from that game. I mean, one thing that was funny is kind of, I guess, Saturday morning before the game at like 10:40, I saw on Twitter, X or whatever, that the UConn guys were kind of on UT's side of the field trying to, I don't know,
Yeah,
talk trash or do something. I don't know what they were trying to accomplish, but it's obvious that it kind of rubbed Tennessee's guys the wrong way, and kind of some banter after the game too, with Moore giving Heupel. Like Heupel said, I mean that guy's just frustrated. 1-8 season, and really to before this game, every single game they had played had been a one-score game except for Duke. So yeah, they're pretty bad record-wise, but I mean it's not like they're the worst team in the FBS. I mean there's plenty
yeah,
of teams that they could beat if they were scheduled them. So Tennessee took care of business. Another thing, I mean, Joe, 11 of 14, 253 yards. Um, just really assertive, confident with his throws. I mean, the return of the explosive play in this game. I mean, you had a 82-yard Jalen Wright touchdown. Then you had a 60-yard Ramel Keaton pass where it looked like our intramural team was trying to defend that, how open he was. And then he hit squirrel and stride across the middle there, and I mean there was nobody that was going to catch him on that 80-yard bomb. So
hmm
the explosive play returning after people have been talking about we haven't been able to score on those explosive plays. Well, it definitely returned this week. And then, like you said, didn't even know if Nico was going to get out there in the second half because our defense scored on like two of the first three plays in the second half of those pick sixes. So just a great game all around, especially in the second half, considering the backups on offense and defense played pretty much the last probably 22 or 23 minutes of the game. UConn only gained like 56 yards in the second half. So put in the young guys and they were still making plays. So that was encouraging to see. And just, I mean, I think the offense is really starting to click. I think maybe starting to play their best football of the season as a team right now. So it's a good time to be playing
yeah,
your best, and hopefully they're able to carry it over because that was like you said, UConn. I mean, not great competition, but still to go out there and take care of business that way, pretty impressive.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Yeah, I think the main thing out of that was we saw some younger guys get some good reps. Starters did, they handled business and no like major injuries or anything, which is always good to see. So moving on to this upcoming week, we've got Missouri on the road. Um, you know, college football playoff rankings have come out. We're 13, they're 14. Um, we're both really good teams. I mean, this one could come down to the wire. And for me personally, I think if it comes down to the wire, I like our chances. They've had two close games with LSU and Georgia, where it was a one-score game in the fourth quarter, and they made some mistakes, and then the scoreboard looked a lot worse than what it actually was if you watch the whole game. So, I've watched us this year. The Kentucky game's a good example of being close there at the end and finding a way to win. And I just think if we run the ball like we can and have all year, and if Joe has a good game, which I mean he's been playing really well this year, other than maybe one game you could argue where he just didn't have it. As long as we don't have a second half like we did against Bama, I don't see us not winning this game. But like I said, it will be a close game. I think we're only favored by one last I checked, so it'll be a gritty one. But I like us to come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things to talk about. Obviously, the new rankings came out last night, but even before that, this is going to be like the first top 16 matchup between two top 16 teams in Columbia since like 1979, which is hard to believe because since Missouri won the East in 13 and 14, you figure they would have played somebody at home ranked in the top 16 or 15. But that being said, I mean, that's a big deal for Missouri. I know the game's already sold out. I mean, it's kind of, in my opinion, I mean, obviously we're on the Tennessee side of things, but kind of all the pressure on Missouri in this game. I mean, Heupel's put 62 and 66 on them the first 2 years he's been at UT. Missouri really hasn't been able to slow down UT at all. The first year, I think Tennessee ran for, or in 21, I think Tennessee ran for over 400 yards out there. And then last year, I mean, with Hendon and Hyatt and the run game, just basically did whatever we wanted to do. So I think a lot of pressure on Missouri. Can they slow down Heupel's offense? Can they win a big game at home? I mean, this is probably obviously last week was a big game for Missouri, but I don't know how realistic it was that they were going to win that game. So this could probably arguably be the biggest game in Drinkwitz's tenure because his is kind of the team they're trying to jockey for second place in the East or to kind of pull even with the compete for second place in the East behind Georgia. So a lot of storylines in this game and a lot of important things to look at. But we can talk about some of the numbers, but just setting it up, I mean, this is definitely a big game for both teams. But I think really Missouri trying to hold serve at home.
Yeah, and like you said about us putting up, big numbers on them the past couple of years. If I remember and heard correctly, when I was watching the Missouri Georgia game this past weekend, I think they said that Missouri's defense is the most penalized defense in the SEC. Um, so I don't know. It's hard to not commit penalties when a team goes as fast as we do. Whether it's a hold on a receiver or pass interference or trying to jump the line quick to get a step on it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a good game, a gritty one. But I like us on top. All bias aside, I think we can get it done.
Yeah, I mean, looking at a few of the things that are probably important. I mean, knowing how well Tennessee's ran the ball in Missouri the last couple of years. I mean, Tennessee's got the number one rush offense in the SEC, number three in the country with 227 yards a game, and one of the two teams ahead of them is a service academy with Air Force. So pretty impressive there. And then you flip it to the other side, they've got the number 13 in the country rush defense and number one in the SEC, only giving up 97 yards a game. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's big. If Tennessee can stop Missouri from running the ball, at least somewhat effectively, which they've been able to do with pretty much everybody this year except for Alabama in the second half and Florida, obviously. But just think this team's continuing to get better, and they'll be able to do that. And if they're able to do that, and you put the whole game on Cook's shoulders, I mean, I
Yeah.
like the chances there. And then you look at Missouri's offense. I mean, no slouch. I think they're maybe 76th in the country in rushing overall, but like fifth or sixth in the SEC with like 150 yards a game. So not terrible, but definitely not their strength. And then on their rushing defense, it's pretty solid, giving up only about 115 yards a game. But again, they've only given up over 200 yards a game once this year rushing. That was LSU, and they ran for 275 and pretty much did whatever they wanted. So, like you mentioned, that was a tough game for them. And Tennessee obviously averaging over 200 yards rushing a game. Um, so I kind of like that for UT. And then you talked about both teams being pretty even. I think Tennessee's scoring like 34.6 points a game this year, and Missouri's scoring 32 points a game. And then Tennessee's giving up like 18 points a game, and Missouri 23, I think. So um, pretty evenly matched. I mean, the schedule's probably a tad different. I mean, Tennessee's played Alabama. They've played at Florida already. It's just kind of, I'd say Tennessee's schedule has been a little tougher at this point, but still
Yeah.
Missouri's taking care of business and beat Kansas State at home, which is a quality out of conference team. So um, a lot will be settled on the field on Saturday, but I mean, I agree with you. I think it'll be gritty. I think it'll be hard fought. Huge game for Missouri. Obviously, a huge game for Tennessee, and could become even huger if Ole Miss could win the game after this game takes place on Saturday night. So a lot riding on the line for both teams. Bowl positioning. Whoever wins is going to be second in the East, probably. So big all around. But like you said, I can't shake the inability of Missouri to stop Tennessee's running game these last 2 years with Heupel at the helm and how well we're running the ball this year. I think Tennessee's going to find a way to win, probably in a field goal game, probably maybe even come down to the last possession. But I like Tennessee to win even on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I hope we're right and move on to the next week. But either way, it'll be a good quality win for us, and it would be good for them too. But hopefully it's in our favor. Alrighty, well, I believe that is all we have for this Tennessee episode. Tune in next week, and we will recap the Missouri game and then look ahead to the Georgia game, which is next Saturday. Follow us on social media platforms and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify. That's where you can hear our newest and latest episodes, and you can watch them on YouTube. Tune in next time.